It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
All right, SKOR North Twins Show, a little Sunday update for you. Hello, happy afternoon, happy morning, depending on how you view the time. Declan Goff here for a little, just quick little update on the SKOR North Twins Show. Typically, I do a recap on Sundays after the series finale, but this time, the Twins and Tigers are playing Sunday Night Baseball. As my dog Vinny wants to say hi as well. They're playing Sunday Night Baseball, so I figured I would do a little bit of a update on what's going on going into this game, latest roster news, some things gleaning from St. Paul. So if you haven't already, you can hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twin Show YouTube channel. We appreciate everyone who has done that throughout this season. If you're looking for Minnesota Twins news, if you're looking for the latest trades, if you're looking for rumors, access from the clubhouse, this is the show for you, the SKOR North Twin Show. My name's Declan Goff. Provide those updates for you at the majority of home games, and then jump on here periodically throughout the week. Plus, we have Mackie and Judd who join us a few times a week. Trevor Plouffe Tuesday, former Twins infielder and current Twins broadcaster. So if you have not done so already, the subscribe button does go a long way to keep supporting the show. Let's start here. It's starting a little ugly, but it's the lead talker, and we'll probably talk about this more tomorrow too on the state of the Twins. But Bailey Ober had another clunker yesterday against the Tigers. In 5 2/3, Bailey allowed 7 hits, 7 runs, 4 homers in that start. Struck out 5, didn't walk anybody, but it's been a brutal month for the Twins starter. So he has made 5 starts now in June. He has thrown 30 innings in the month of June, and he has allowed 30 earned runs in the month of June to go along with 14 home runs in those 5 starts. I saw this note from Dan Hayes, The Athletic, who said, not only does the 14 homers allowed by Ober match Hall of Famers Bert Bryleven's Twins club record, which was set in May of 1986, Ober is tied with 5 other pitchers for the second most homers yielded in a calendar month in the history of Major League Baseball. So, obviously, when the Twins lost Pablo Lopez, huge bummer, but you had Joe Ryan, you have Bailey Ober. When those 3 are healthy, that's about as formidable 1, 2, 3 you can have. We talked about that going into the season, and we honestly had that conversation in the middle of May during the winning streak. Well, now Bailey Ober has regressed to the point where it's almost like, what's wrong with this guy? He openly admitted he had some hip issues earlier in the month. I believe some knee issues as well. When he came into spring training, the velocity was down. From talking to some other people in the organization, it sounded like he had a normal off season. He stuck to the plan that was given to him by the pitching staff and by the coaching staff. So it wasn't like he was ignoring or wasn't preparing in the proper way. It is a little bit alarming when a guy who was turning 30 years old here in a couple weeks has a dip in velocity like that and just falls off a cliff, because he at one point was, even with Pablo and Joe Ryan maybe having a higher ceiling than them, over the last 4 seasons, he's been the Twins' one of them most consistent starters. A guy who can get some strikeouts, but really doesn't walk a lot of guys. Might give up a home run or 2, but certainly not to the point he is now. And through 17 starts in the big leagues, no pitcher has given up more hits, and no starting pitcher has given up more earned runs than Bailey Ober, whose ERA is now at 5.28 in 17 starts this season. I guess the next logical path is to maybe skip him or put him on the injured list. The All-Star break here, we're coming up here on that break in about 2 weeks. And I don't know what they want to do here. Reinforcement-wise, like if they want to do IL him or if they wanted to skip him, there's a couple options right now in St. Paul. Travis Adams, who was called up to the Twins a few weeks ago earlier, or maybe it was even in May now, I'm blurring my time, but never appeared in a game. He's been their swing man in St. Paul, and in 18 games, 4 of them starts, he's been a converted starter into kind of this pseudo reliever, opener, can pitch multiple innings type of dude. He has a 3.54 ERA in 61 innings, has struck out 56 batters. He probably might be one of the more encouraging options for the Twins. He was a 6th-round pick by the organization in 2021, so there is something there. I would really wished we would have gotten to see him a little bit when he pitched for the Twins and he was recalled. He's the Twins' 21st organizational prospect. He'd be a logical guy to come up here and potentially replace Ober's spot. Jose Orena, who the Twins, I believe, added to on a minor league contract. Orena's a veteran pitcher, has made 240 appearances in the big leagues. Hell, he's even pitched for the Mets, Dodgers, and Blue Jays this season alone. He has pitched for 3 major league teams this year. He'd be another option to call up here, a veteran starter. I mean, 33 years old, from the Dominican Republic. At one point, looked like he was might be a really interesting arm for those Marlins teams about 8-9 years ago. Since then, has kind of bounced around with the Tigers, the Brewers, the Rockies, the White Sox. It's been all over the place a little bit, but he is someone that also could take the spot of Ober. And even though losing Pablo was a buzzkill, and that's kind of been the benchmark of where the season started to go off the rails is when Pablo went down, even though he's only a starter making an appearance every 5th day. You can kind of circle that day, but at the end of the day, for the lack of better words, they needed Ober to step up. They needed Fest or Zebby Matthews to step up. Zebby Matthews still on the shelf here. Joe Ryan's been great. Simeon Woods-Richardson has turned in a nice couple starts here. David Fest had a really good appearance on Friday. But overall, the pitching has not been great. And I wouldn't be surprised at all, I guess, if we saw maybe a Travis Adams or a Jose Orena come on here and maybe take the spot of Ober. If they do indeed IL him, skipping him in the rotation is also an option. But they kind of want to lengthen a lot of their guys in the rotation with the All-Star break coming up. So, I mean, this is where you can never have too much pitching depth, and the Twins are learning that the hard way. You know, for Ober, it's just, it's a huge buzzkill because he was a guy that the Twins were expecting to be really damn good. He's at an ERA of, almost sub-1 over the last 4 years. He's really one of the more forgotten, talked about pitchers. But this year, it's been a different story. Let's go on the YouTube side of things here for some comments here. Miklo says, honest answer, Dex. Once the Twins are mercifully sold, is there any member of the front office or coaching staff that has earned the chance to keep their job? I mean, if Derek Falvey's facilitating, some of these talks, which he's the president of the team, he's sticking around, right? Like, I don't see, unless ownership says, yeah, okay, we'll have a make good handshake here. I don't see a situation where he doesn't lose his job because he's put himself in a position of power where he's helping facilitate that next sale. In terms of guys like Jeremy Zoll, I'm not sure. I know ownership would like their own people in charge, so at the same time, it's kind of hard to project, but ownership typically does like their own people in place, so it's definitely going to be a thing to watch here. A few other things here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Royce Lewis is with the St. Paul Saints just down the road here from where I'm recording. He's on a rehab assignment with St. Paul. In the 2 games he has played with the Saints, hitless in 5 at-bats, but again, just literally pun intended, getting his legs back underneath him. Wouldn't look too much on the results there. The Twins certainly could use his bat back in the lineup. It kind of felt like prior to the injury that Royce was starting to put things together a little bit there over the last week before re-injuring the hamstring. So we'll see the timeline of when they want to activate Royce Lewis. The Twins are remaining on the road. I believe they travel down to Miami to play the Marlins. They do have an off day tomorrow, so even though the Twins are on Sunday Night Baseball tonight, they do get to the off day to sleep in a little bit, not have to worry about playing and being at the ballpark early on Tuesday. But Joe Ryan will pitch for the Twins against the Marlins, on Tuesday, July 1st. But with Royce Lewis coming back, do they DFA Jonah Bride? That's an option. Cody Clemens has kind of come back alive a little bit. I don't see his roster spot being in jeopardy. Edward Julian in St. Paul has also looked really well back at the plate. Has looked really strong back at the plate. So that's another guy. They're going to eventually call back Royce because he's on a rehab assignment. But curious to see the roster move there. But the sooner the Twins can get Royce Lewis obviously back with the Twins would be good. They probably want him to play the field a little bit more. I would be a little surprised if it's just a 3-game stint. For Royce with St. Paul. That could be the case, though. The Twins are playing they're on their last road trip of the season before the All-Star break. They have their biggest homestand of the year. It starts Friday on July 4th against the red-hot Tampa Bay Rays. Then they'll have the Cubbies here for 3 games, and then they close things out against the Pirates in a couple weeks before the All-Star break hits. They don't have the probable starters. I'm hoping, I know Twins fans, even though they don't want to see Paul Skeens pitch against them, I'd love to see Paul Skeens pitch. So we don't know the pitching matchups. That's a little far out, but Paul Skeens could be on the mound, and maybe they hold him back, so maybe Skeens starts the All-Star game too. So we'll see kind of how that lines up for the Pirates. But yeah, the last road trip of the first half of the season, the theoretical first half, the Twins did cross the 81 game mark. So now we're officially over 50% of the way complete through the year. We'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow with Mackie and Judd on the state of the Twins. But Royce Lewis down with St. Paul, and hopefully coming back up here very soon. A few other notes here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Hit the like button, subscribe button. Thanks for everyone for hanging out with me here on a Sunday afternoon. Appreciate you guys. Support our sponsors and supporting our show. So Brooks Lee is continuing to have a great month of June. I know the Twins have mostly been kind of a disaster here in this month, but Brooks Lee has finally figured things out at the plate a little bit. This month alone, a 938 OPS, hitting 360 on the year. Just really good bat-to-ball skills, 4 home runs, 5 doubles. He has 32 hits as a whole. This is why this dude was drafted, as high as he was, which was the 8th overall pick in the 2022 draft. He's just been awesome. And as much as finding silver linings, I know when you're losing 16 of 18 games, whatever it was before the Twins did have a little winning streak here before losing yesterday. Brooks Lee has been a big bright spot for the Twins. I know the glove, ironically, has kind of regressed a little bit. I'm not concerned with the way the way his glove has played this year. Defensively, he's been worth -4 defensive runs saved at third base. I think there's a really good fielder in there. And right now, he's putting things together at the plate, where he's been arguably the Twins' most consistent hitter over the last month plus. So that's all good news. That's good things that, you want to see that. You want to see Royce Lewis, Brooks Lee have the season that he is. Byron Buxton's been destroying baseballs, just punishing them for home runs, and won't be starting the All-Star game pending an injury, which is, kind of too bad. I know the voting process is a little wonky now, but Buxton has just been a man on fire and deserves to start the All-Star game, but probably won't be starting the All-Star game because that part's already over with unless there's an injury. However, Brooks Lee, Byron Buxton have put together really good ABs for the Twins this entire month. The pitching has been honestly the biggest culprit of the Twins. Ever since Pablo went down, it has not lived up to snuff. And on Sunday Night Baseball here, if you're consuming this before, we got Chris Paddock against Tarek Skubal, who's, the best pitcher in the game. So might be a long night for the Twins on ESPN. It's the first time the Twins are on Sunday Night Baseball in 5+ years, almost 5 years, I should say. They were on Sunday Night Baseball in 2020 against the Cubs. So it's been a long time. This game was flexed in about a month ago. So this game was originally going to be a 1 o'clock game. They flexed it back in to Sunday Night Baseball at the time. I think the thought process was, the best team in the American League and the Tigers, who were off to a great start. The Twins had won, 13, 14 games and looked like they had turned their season around. Could be a good AL Central battle. Since then, the Twins have obviously hit the skids a little bit. They're 11.5 games back of the Tigers as the recording of this podcast, and the Tigers have a 10.5 game lead on Cleveland, who is in second place. So between the Guards, the Twins, the Royals, they're all kind of jockeying for second, third, and fourth place position. The Twins enter play on Sunday. They are 2.5 games back of a wild card spot. So obviously it's not impossible for the Twins to maybe still be back into this thing a little bit. Apologies, my connection's getting a little wonky here. But hopefully the Twins can maybe salvage this series if they're able to get another big win against Skubal. That'll put them in a good spot heading into an off day. As lame as it is, a day at a time, this has been a very disappointing month for the Twins. But they had a good bounce back against Seattle to close out the homestand. Friday's game was a good win for the Twins. Yesterday was ugly, but maybe take a little solace if you're able to take another series against Detroit, who's been the best team in baseball, and against the best pitcher. You got your work cut out for them. I don't expect the Twins to maybe win tonight, but regardless, hopefully the Twins are in a good spot. So that's a little just quick little update here on some of the roster things, some struggles with Bailey Ober, Royce Lewis knocking on the door, some highlights here. Tomorrow on the State of the Twins, we'll have favorite thing, least favorite thing, a vibe check. Tuesday, we'll be with Trevor Plouffe, who wrapped up calling some games here for the Twins. So we'll get Trevor's perspective as well. Appreciate you guys that have hung out with us and supported the SKOR North Twins Show. Know there's a lot of Twins content out there. We've built this back kind of up from ground zero about a year and a half ago, and now we're at over 5,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for everyone who has done so. Hit the like button and subscribe button. More SKOR North Twins Show content coming at you next week. My name's Declan Goff. We'll be talking at you soon.